Okay. All right. We are live. Is there anybody there? Hey, Todd. How's it going, man? Hi from the UK. Thanks for staying up, Ray. Split Rock Productions here. Awesome. Todd Murphy, present. Fantastic. Real quick check here. Can you guys, number one, hear me okay? Can you see me okay? There's probably a little bit of a delay, but Raleigh, North Carolina. Very nice. Nice. Cheers to you, Todd. Okay, good. Joe from Toronto. Awesome. All right, good deal. Well, guys, this is kind of a quick last minute impromptu. These are hard to do because I never know what a good time is for folks. And so I just kind of throw them out there. And if people swing by with questions, that's great. But I think it's a good way to answer questions quickly. So let's kind of get started. I initially wanted to talk about the Phantom 4 Pro, but I'm open to anything. Whatever you guys want to talk about or whatever you're interested in, whatever you want to know about, let me know. So we've got other people chiming in. 20 from New Jersey. Awesome. Let's see. Los Angeles from Rex. Thank you, sir. Casanova from Houston, Texas. Kenny. Cool. Odessa, Texas. Dad's Shop. Good to see you. South Bay Drones, glad to see you. Happy Friday to you too. ND filter for the Pro. What do you guys want to know? There's 20s asking about that. Columbia, Drone Vision. Ordered this week. Oh, okay. So I think 20's asking the shutter variation or the PL variation of Polar Pro, I think it is. I always go for the shutter variation, the ND filters, exclusively for video, and that's because a polarizing filter is kind of difficult. They're most useful for photography, and that's because a polarizing filter's natural effect or its effective area is only 90 degrees from the sun. So if the sun's coming from the sides, your shot will look good in a polarizing filter, but otherwise, if the sun is in front or back of you, the polarizing effect doesn't work. And a quad moves around so much that it's hard to stay in that sweet spot. So I use ND filters exclusively. I don't use polarizing filters. That said, they are helpful if you're flying over water to reduce glare. So it's not like, I'm not saying they're useless or anything like that. I don't personally have a need to use them that often. Ray says, is the camera on the new P4 Pro as good as they say it is? Yes, it is, Ray. It is. The Phantom 4 Pro's camera is definitely what I would call an upgrade. It is more of an upgrade than coming from the Phantom 3 Professional to the Phantom 4. That wasn't really an upgrade to me, and that's why I never bought the Phantom 4, because the camera was essentially the same with a different housing. Going from the Phantom 4 to the Phantom 4 Pro is definitely an upgrade. If they had named it the Phantom 5, that would have been applicable. The sensor is a 20 megapixel sensor. It shoots at 100 megabits per second as opposed to, I think, a 12 megapixel sensor that shot at 60 megabits per second. It is quite an upgrade. It really is. And encompasses too with the fact that the Phantom 4 Pro has a manual shutter. So what that means is you experience a lot less rolling shutter. Have you guys ever taken a shot and whipped left or right, which would be yawing with the quad, but the camera movement is a pan left or right really quick, and you freeze the frame, you'll notice that like telephone poles are bent sideways. That's rolling shutter. A mechanical shutter is much more efficient with that kind of movement, and you'll see more of a straight line when moving side to side. So there are many reasons why the camera is better and worth the upgrade. Let's see, what else do we got here? Chris Watkins, Stuart, Florida. Hey, Chris. Jay Carlos from Mexico. Hey, Jay Carlos. Thanks for coming by. Todd wants to know if I think he's got the ND8 and the ND16 filter. Wants to know if the ND4 is worthy. Yes, it is. And as a matter of fact, Todd, guys, keep in mind that the Phantom 4 Pro's aperture can be adjusted. So you can go to f11, which blocks a lot of that light. So I'm starting to feel like with the Phantom 4 Pro, the most useful ND filters that you'll need is the ND8 and the ND4. You know, with an f11, that blocks a lot of light where you normally would have to use an ND16, but the ND8 will work well for that. So I think that the ND4 and the ND8 would be the filters that you'll need the most. Okay, let me scroll down here real quick. Yep, go with shutter. Tom's watching from New Jersey. Hey, Tom. Let's see. Yep, 20 did the same thing. John from Florida, Eastern Canada. Hey, John, thanks for staying up, buddy. I appreciate it. I really appreciate your videos, says 20. It's very helpful, and keep up the wonderful work. You're welcome, 20. It's because of you guys. I wouldn't be anything without you guys. All right. Tom says, I have a P4 Pro Plus. What is the danger flying close to water? Will bird get goofy because of possible reflections? That's a good question, Tom. And the danger in flying close to water is flying close to water. And I'm guilty of it too. You've seen some of my latest videos with the Phantom 4 Pro. I love it. I mean, those are the shots, man. When you're 2 feet off the water, or maybe a foot off the water, and you're getting that shot, it makes for a great shot. But I am putting myself at risk, and I'm not sure how the sensors perform on water, especially with a lot of shine and glare. But I know that's not the answer you wanted, but I think that's the honest answer, that anytime you're doing something that makes your heart beat a little bit because you're going to get a great shot, you're probably doing something dangerous, because I do it too. I hope that answers the question. What's the best gimbal preset for smooth movement? Carlos wants to know. Carlos, I set mine to 20 for that gimbal roll. I think it goes from 0 to 30. I set mine to 20. That is just smooth enough where it doesn't give a quick jerk. You know, when you move, it eases into the shot and then stops into the shot instead of moving really fast. So I set mine to 20. Greg from St. Augustine, Florida. Enjoying my P4 Pro, but getting jittery video. Greg, elaborate a little bit on that. What jittery video? Bill Boyd just came from Georgia. Hey, Bill. Drone Vision. Frederick, I could not find the way how to export my videos of high quality. I see exported videos in Final Cut much better quality than mine in Premiere. Performance at 60 megabits. Drone Vision, look on my channel for best export settings to YouTube. I did a video on how to export for YouTube, and that should help you. All right, Stephen Furlong says, just got the Polar Pro ND8 to 32 and ND8 to 16. Any suggestions for where to start? By the way, your videos are awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Stephen. I appreciate it. The best way to start with ND filters is just to get out there and test. You know, obviously you want to look at your exposure meter in the very bottom center that tells you a plus if it's getting too hot, the exposure is too hot, or a minus if the exposure is too dark. Start there. Midday with cloudy suns, I always start with an ND8. You know, get out there and get your shutter speed set to, say, 50 if you're shooting 24 frames per second, or 120 if you're shooting 60 frames per second. And then leave the shutter alone, and then adjust the rest by using the f-stop, the aperture, and ISO. If the shot is still too bright, then you'll know that you got to switch up to an ND16, or the reverse of that. If it's just too dark, you'll know that you got to take the ND8 off and try an ND4. So it's a lot of trial and error, because you are at the mercy of the environment. You know, I can't give you a textbook answer on which filter will be perfect for you, because there's no telling what the weather, and what the environment will look like. So you'll have to do the same as me, which is I get out there, I start with an Indy 8, and then I kind of go from there to see if I need to go darker or lighter. Let's see. Brennan says, I always fly above water. Love the effects. To be honest, you don't always have to fly high, but simply some shots are better less than 8 feet off the ground. Yeah, you're right, Ray. I mean, the closer to objects that you fly, the more dynamic the shot. That's why I try, when I fly over trees, I try to scrape right over the very top of the trees without wrecking the drone. And that kind of video is much more dynamic and has so much more energy than say if you're 20 feet over the trees. But again, there's that price you pay that there might be a limb there that you can't see on the monitor, through the camera, and you find out the hard way. I've done that. Let's see. Rex says, give a little throttle when you accelerate above water. It will dip as you start moving. Yeah, that's a good tip, because he's right. Natural physics. As soon as that copter starts to take off, it will lean and it will fall just a little bit. So yeah, that's a great tip. Razor E, love your videos. Thanks, Razor E. I appreciate it. Smoke and Sound says, hey, Frederick, love your videos and appreciate your sharing your thoughts and insight with us regarding the P4P and the P4P Plus. Have you noticed any issues with live video feed being choppy when flying short distances? Smoke and Sound, I do, and it was after the last firmware upgrade. My video signal was pretty solid, but after that last firmware upgrade, I'm getting a lot of dropped signal and quick, like flash to green screen and frozen screen, sometimes up to 6 seconds. So I'm contributing it to that because it was working fine before that. But like anything else, I think DJI will probably smooth that out if enough of us raise our hand and complain about it. So at least you're not alone with that one. Okay, Ivan Smith 6, Ivan from Bigging Hill, UK. Wow, you stayed up late. Thanks for staying up, Ivan. Thank you much for your fabulous videos. Help so much. Loads of cool stuff. Happy flying, Frederick. Same to you. Let's see. Hamid S. Fred, do you shoot with art with the Mavic Pro? Can you possibly give some tips on how to color grade it, or maybe do a video? Yeah, I mean, Hamid, you can look on my site and check out some of the tutorials I have on color grading. And that'll tell you kind of the way I handle footage. And it doesn't have to be Mavic Pro footage specifically. It doesn't have to be Phantom 4 Pro specifically. A lot of the footage that I do on a daily basis, I handle many different kinds of footage from different cameras. But that will help you get your head around how to color grade. Because quite honestly, the end result is up to you. My opinion is worth a blade of grass and some bug spit. Okay, I mean, I can advise, but really it comes down to you because you're the creator. In the end, you have to be happy with what you're doing and what you're creating, and so it just takes a little bit of time. But look at those videos that I've done on color correction tutorials, and that'll get your head around the basics of what to look for while you're color correcting and grading, and then you'll create your own kind of system and techniques for yourself. So I hope that answers the question. Douglas Patrick says, lately my iPhone battery drains from 100 to 10 within 10 minutes of flight on my P3 Pro. Have you experienced it with a similar situation? What do you use for the app? I do. My iPhone would get sucked dry, and so I bought an iPad. I mean, not because the screen's just bigger, but because it's got a bigger battery. So I'm right there with you. Yeah, it really would suck my phone absolutely dry. But I use the iPad, an iPad 2 mini that I found on a pretty good price because it's a couple of generations old, but it works great. Greg H says, lagging or freezes. This is off the memory chip from the AC. Really? I wonder if you could reinstall the firmware, do a fresh install. That's the best I could think of with that. Tom, by the way, keep up outstanding work. Thank you, Tom. Ray Brandon says, what is this? Hold on. DJI Go app normally charges your phone or iPad whilst you use it. It does, Ray, but I believe on the Phantom 3 that's not the case. The Phantom 4 it does. But I think, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, on the Phantom 4 Pro it does, but the Phantom 3, I don't think it does. I think you're at the mercy of how long your battery lasts. Dad's Shop 1 wants to know, how well will the P4P follow a moving object over water with reflection interfere with tracking? It will. It will. The tracking, I should probably do a video on that, but I always like to get my head around something, where I'm talking about something with a little bit of authority. And then I've not tested enough, but the tracking on the Phantom 4 Pro is so much better, okay, than variations of this before. But it is not fail-safe. So I would imagine tracking something over water and fighting glare and things like that it would have a tough time, with that. Let's see, smoke and sound. Yeah, smoke and sound. I'm going to do a video and share my workflow with preparing the H.265 files for the Phantom 4, but I've not figured one out yet. I mean, I'm waiting for Premiere Pro to kind of catch up and update for Adobe to update the app itself, because right now it's brutal. The only way I've gotten around it is taking my H.265 files and re-encoding them as ProRes 422 files, and that works. But number one, it takes forever to encode. Number two, the files are about 5 times the size of the original H.265 files, so that's not a good workflow. Something that takes forever, and your working files end up being 4 and 5 times the size. So if I've got something that's 1 gigabyte, a video clip that's 1 gigabyte, recorded to 265, when I encode that to ProRes 422, that same video is 5 gigs. So that's not a good workflow yet, but I will when I have a good workflow to share. Ray Brennan wants to know, can I ask why you don't use Final Cut Pro? I used to use Final Cut Pro. I used to be a diehard Final Cut Pro user, Final Cut 7. When they switched to Final Cut 10, they took out a lot of features, and just the physical way the application works, I just wasn't real keen on. Final Cut Pro is a great application, and many people use it, and it's a professional application. You can get great results. I just prefer the way Premiere Pro is set up and how Premiere Pro, the interface and everything, and how it reacts. I just think it's a much cleaner, smoother operating app for video editing, but that's just my preference. Let's see. Hey, let's see. RMS Video says, have you experienced this flying and keeping the props out of the frame bin? It's much, much, much better than the Phantom 3. The Phantom 3 I would shoot in 4K because I knew I could crop in on the footage on a 1080 timeline, and I did that because the props were always in the shot, pretty much. But the Phantom 4 Pro, just every now and then you'll see them dip down in the shot, but it's much better than it was. Quietus Raven, Dallas, Texas here. Hey, I've learned so much about P4P, even more about basic photography from your videos. I appreciate the guidance. I appreciate your watching. Thank you so much for saying so. Rex says, have you used an Android? Anything about live streaming being disabled on the Go 4? It tells me live streaming is temporarily disabled for the P. No, I haven't. I'm sorry. I don't have any experience with that. It would make me sad too. Stephen Furlong, thanks for the tips about ND filters. Any thoughts about polarizing filters, particularly as relates to flying over water, looking for animals in the water? Polarizing filters, that I stated this earlier, I really don't use them because of the nature of a polarizing filter. You have to be facing a specific direction to the sun before its effect is active. But flying over water, I would imagine that could be much more helpful because that is the one thing they do, is they get rid of glare. But other than that, I really don't use them that much because I intend to bring things in post, and that's where I get my vibrance and saturation. And that's the reason why a lot of people use polarizing filters, so they get that vibrance and saturation without having to do any post work. So I don't use LUTs, Jamie. I like to grade from scratch because I've never used a LUT or found a LUT that is like the one-click, magic bullet that just boom and it's perfect. I always have to tweak some settings over top of the LUT, so I kind of like to start from scratch. Okay, Razor E says, regarding yaw movement and unnatural motion blur, is a flashing effect on straight edges like trees, for example, normal? This is while shooting at manual 24 frames per second at 1/60th of a shutter. Flashing edges. No, that isn't normal. That's not normal at all. There's a chance that you could be yawing too fast. And you guys, everybody, please understand that a yaw movement, which is a pan movement with a camera, is intended to be super slow. So even when you're doing a yaw movement that you personally may think is very slow, like this is going to get a great shot because you're just really moving super slow, you're probably moving about twice as fast as you need to for a real cinematic yaw or pan movement at 24 frames per second. A lot of the times people see this skipping effect and complain about it, and that's because you're moving too fast for the frame rate to keep up. If you're shooting 60 frames per second, a yaw movement at the same speed will be much smoother because you've got enough frames to keep up in between. So if you're having these issues with your pans and your yaws, try going half the speed that you think is slow enough, and I'll bet you $100 that it'll be a great shot. Let's see. Ron says, do you color grade with Color Finale? No, I don't. I color grade everything right now in Premiere Pro with Lumetri tools, the Lumetri color tools are the tools that came from SpeedGrade, Adobe's color application. So when they did that, that really upped the game for Premiere Pro's color handling capabilities. And so far, I've found it fantastic. I love Lumetri, and I stick to it until I find its weaknesses. Okay, what do we got here? Grades. Let's see. I'm not sure if the obstacle avoidance system works in the P4 Pro Plus in a programmed mode. It should, from what I read, if memory serves. Sport mode is the one that cancels all kind of obstacle avoidance, and that one, by the way, guys, be careful in sport mode if you've not tried it out. I used it when I did the ND video that I just created because I wanted to do a really fast movement over that grass, and it's dangerous. That thing will absolutely fly, no pun intended. That thing really moves, but the stick movements are very sensitive. I almost ran the thing into my car just trying to move the copter 3 feet to the left, and I tapped the stick and wham, it flew over like 12 feet. And so, wow, be careful in sport mode, low to the ground. Let's see. Okay, Tom's answering that question. Okay. Yeah, Smoke and Sound. It means we're just sticking with H.264 right now. I'm just sticking with that because it works. It works well, and I'm getting great results from it. You know, it makes me mad because I would love to take advantage of the H.265 codec. You know, it's got it on the camera, and it's one of the features, and it should work. You know, and it doesn't yet as well as it should. So a little frustrating, but hey, H.264 works great. Yah says, hey, I've been using my Phantom 4 Pro to record whilst I was on holiday using 4K 60. I brought it back to my computer, but I cannot edit the files. They're too big. What should I do? Yeah, the good thing about the Phantom 4 Pro is it shoots 4K footage at 100 megabits per second. The bad thing is that it shoots 4K footage at 100 megabits per second, and I myself have seen this slow down on my computer at home. And that's because it's shooting at an even higher bit rate than the Phantom 3 or Phantom 4 shot at 60 megabits, and what that means is larger files, which taxes the computer. It really does. This is the double-edged sword of getting into video editing. You spend all this money on the copter and some ND filters and extra batteries and this and that, and then you get back home and if you're like me, you're excited and you load the footage on your computer, and your computer won't even play the files. So you've got to get upgrades, and I've had to upgrade my video card. The workaround for that for me is I re-encode everything back to 1080 and keep a copy of the 1080 files or throw away the 4K files and then edit with those. If you edit 1080 files on a 1080 timeline, it will speed your computer up 2 times as fast. Let's see. James says, have you mentioned using aperture on the new Phantom to reduce light and help reduce shutter speed? Can you comment on whether or not you can find changing depth of field useful in drone video? Yeah, James, you can, and I talked about this a little bit. Being able to push the f-stop to f11 on the Phantom 4 Pro helps greatly. And what that means is normally when you'd need an ND16, a neutral density 16 filter, you'll need an ND8. You won't be able to use the Phantom 4 Pro and get really decent cinematic stuff without an ND filter. The f-stop will not go high enough. Traditionally on a lens, the f-stop goes to f22. But on the Phantom 4 Pro, the f-stop will not go high enough to where you just don't need ND filters, unfortunately. But it will go high enough to where you don't need as dark of an ND filter. But it is very useful for that. And as far as the changing depth of field, that's kind of a trick question because I don't think any of us really use our quads to shoot things that are 3 feet away or 4 feet away. If you did, shooting at f2.8 on your f-stop, that's what's going to give you a super shallow depth of field. But way up in the air, shooting at f2.8 and you focus on the ground, by the time the distance is so much farther from the lens, the depth of field is super, super, super wide, even at f2.8, So it's kind of a hard thing to answer other than you do need ND filters. F-stop is great to be able to adjust and change that. And there may be circumstances where you want to use an f2.8 because you're shooting very close to something and you want the background out of focus. So I guess it's cool that you can do that if it's needed. And John's asking about LUTs. I've tried LUTs, John, but I prefer to do everything from scratch. Yeah, my yaw settings, Ray, on my Phantom 4 are set to the standard setting, the stock settings that the bird comes with. But I'm trying to think of the term. It's that little curve that adjusts how sensitive the sticks are. Oh gosh, what is it? Help me out, guys. What is it? Anyway, mine are set to 0.40. I think they come standard set to 5. But mine are set to 0.40, so they're a little softer. But 0.30 and like 0.20, that tends to get a little mushy. You get a little bit too much play and wiggle and not enough control over the bird. So I set it at that. Let's see. Expo, thank you. That's what it is. Let's see. Bear with me real quick, guys. I'm trying to scroll through here and make sure I don't miss anybody. And feel free, guys, as we're going through here, if you see a question, type that person's name and reply with the answer. That would help out in case I missed something. Let's see. Reza says, thanks for your great videos. You're welcome. I have the controller for the P4P with a screen. Cool. Do you know why the settings I save for the video photos are not saved to recall as I need? Well, I do not know. It should save all of your settings, just like if you use the iPad. You do custom settings when you first set the bird up and everything. You turn it off, power it back up on another day. Those settings should be saved there. That would be a question for maybe one of the forum groups, but sorry, I can't help you with that one. Let's see. Yeah, Greg H is saying video card may be an issue with that speed. Older computers with editing 4K videos. Yep. That's a good question. R. Scott Johnson wants to know, has anyone tried removing the outside stock UV lens on the 4 Pro to see if the pedal flare is removed? Because that pedal flare is, boy, it's there, isn't it? Okay, people are answering some of the questions there on the card. Cool. And you guys, okay, cool. B Macadelic, what's up, buddy? I got your name right. Let's see. Ja wants to know what are the best settings for the Phantom 4 Pro. I've tried using D-Log and I'm having trouble with that. Check out one of my videos. Check out best best camera settings for the Phantom 4 Pro. I discussed that in depth, and you're right, D-Log is tough to work with. It's kind of a mess, in my opinion. But check that video out. That'll explain it for you. Yeah, Ray says try Cine. Yep. On my Mavic, see, Todd says on my Mavic, 1080p, 60 frames was mushy. Yeah, I haven't tried it on my 4 Pro. Have you seen any issues with 4 Pro? I did some shots the other day at 60 frames per second, 4K, just so I could play around with ramping. You know, when you start out really fast and you slow down and then you fire up fast again, and it looked pretty good. But keep in mind, guys, 24 frames per second or 25 is always going to look better than 60 frames per second. And why is that? If you've got 100 megabits, okay, and you get 60 frames per second, you're dividing those megabits by 60. So each frame has less information for processing to work with than, say, 24 frames per second. So divide 24 frames by 100 megabits per second, and you've got much more information. You've got double the information per frame that's being recorded as you fly. So a lot of the times the 60 frames per second footage doesn't look as good as the 24 frames per second, and that's why. Because each frame has less processing going on to expose and produce each frame at 60 frames than it does at 24. So that's the reason why a lot of times 60 frames per second just doesn't look as good, and it's hard to understand why. That's why, I believe. Yeah. Rex is commenting on that too. There's a good tip. WA Productions USA. Hey man, I found that 2.7K art color -1 in sharpening is a sweet spot for the Mavic. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Paul says, Paul Straden says, new to drones, new to your channel. Love them both. Thanks so much, Paul. Thanks for coming by. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Hi, Frederick. Toro says, hi, Frederick. I'm still undecided on what editing software to use. I'm not hot on spending a lot, so something that would do well but inexpensive. I have a MacBook Pro, if that helps. Thank you. Toro, you don't have to invest a lot of money in editing software. If you're just wanting to cut video and learn how to cut video, if you're on a Mac, iMovie is great. That's what I learned on, gosh, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that, 11 years ago. iMovie is fantastic. You know, it's just about cutting. You know, it's not about special effects and goofy tricks and crazy transitions, and that stuff is all kind of fun, but it's not professional looking often. You know, editing is about a cut, a simple hard cut, and every now and then a good dissolve. So yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can actually, you know, do iMovie and learn to cut very well. Let's see. Smoke and Sounds, would you consider making a video about scouting locations and how to decide what type of drone shot you want to get? And I'd love additional artistic insights. Yeah, I'm going to do that, Smoke and Sound, as soon as the weather gets better. I mean, I'm struggling to make videos right now for you guys because it's been terrible. I mean, for the last here in Kentucky, in the United States, I don't know, the last 23 out of 30 days has been absolutely gloomy, rainy, or cold, no sun, just terrible. So yeah, when the weather gets better, I plan on doing much more. The 4K, let's see, Split Rock wants to know, is 4K more compressed in Mavic than the P4P in your opinion? Yep, it is. It absolutely is. All right, VMacadelic says, here's a question I've been meaning to ask you, Frederick. Using the secondary color correction on Premiere Pro's 3-way causes noise speckling in colors in my editing. Yes, I've seen this happen. Oftentimes, that's because you're applying it as another correction over a correction, and you're pushing the codec too hard. That's usually what it is. Take one of the primary corrections that you've put on the shot and back those off a little bit. I've seen this happen to me before, And oftentimes I can't get it to work. But if I go to the primary correction and make it a little bit less contrasty, or take a little bit of the dark, the low end off of it, and maybe not so bright, all of a sudden that weird artifacty macro blocking speckly stuff just goes away. And it's because you're stressing the Kodak too much. Let's see. Yep, you've answered that. Yep. Michael says DaVinci Resolve, which is free. Yep. RMS Video says, how do you like not having a fixed focus on the Phantom 4 Pro? To be honest with you, I think it's kind of goofy. I do. I mean, most of all of us here talking right now, how many of us here shoot things with a quadcopter at 3 feet away? I mean, I don't, other than the clock demonstration in my video a couple of weeks ago or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of odd to have to tap focus to infinity every time. seems kind of goofy to me, but perhaps we'll figure out other uses for it. Kind of nice feature to have, other than having to remember to do that every time. Let's see. CL says, I'll try Cine-like. Also, I just got my first drone of the P4P but 2 weeks ago, and I get very nervous flying about 350 feet. Yes, this is normal. Absolutely, it's normal. I'd be worried about you if it weren't, because if you're like me and you've had a copter fall out of the sky at 400 feet for no reason, it just had a manufacturer defect with, I think, the IMU or the one of the sensors of the compass. It fell out of the sky. Boom. So yes, I still to this day get nervous when I fly anywhere near that height, but that's just a good healthy nervous, I think. I don't do range tests for the P4P because just my own philosophy. I don't see a need to fly out of my line of sight. I think that's dangerous for me to fly like that. But others can do it. That's their deal. But when I'm flying and filming, I usually have something specific in mind. I have a shot list in my head of what I need to get, and I'm usually close enough to those things where I can get those shots. And it just makes me too nervous to fly anything out of my line of sight, because these things are too expensive and it's very dangerous. If I were to crash on someone, cause an accident or whatever, that would not be a good thing. So I certainly wouldn't want to be responsible for that. So sorry, that's not the answer you wanted, but that's me being honest. Let's see. Nelson wants to know, hi Fred, what settings do you use to export your movie to a client? When I export movies to a client for broadcast, like broadcast TV and cinema that I work on, all of those are exported as ProRes 422 HQ files, the highest quality possible. And they're huge files, especially for like 15 and 30-second spots. But that's some wonderful, wonderful quality. I would do the same, but YouTube just chews up your videos anyway, since the bit rate's only around 10 to 12 megabits on upload on YouTube. So kind of doesn't matter how great your videos look. YouTube is going to, unfortunately, tear them apart and put them back together again to get them uploaded. So let's see. Tom says, Frederick, if I'm flying my P4P Plus in P mode with all avoidance options on and flying by stick, is it possible to fly the bird directly into an obstacle and crash it? That's a trick question, Tom, because the answer is no if the object is large enough. I've accidentally almost gotten too close to a tree and mine stopped, but that was because it was near a pretty good mass of the tree that's easy to see. But by the same token, I've been getting pretty close to tree limbs high up that are simply too small to be detected as a mass in front of you. So man, you still just got to be careful. I'm glad that I have obstacle avoidance on the P4 Pro. Don't get me wrong. I think it's way cool, but I do not trust it. Plain and simple. Also, Paul says, when you pan or yaw, what's the best tip to keep from a staggered picture? We were talking about this a minute ago. Pan very slow. Pan very slow. And if you think you're panning slow enough, like this should be slow enough, and you're going, go half that speed. Because a true cinematic pan is crazy slow unless you're doing what's called a whip pan. And a whip pan is exactly what it sounds like, where the camera goes whip, real fast and everything blurs, that's a whip pan, which is supposed to look like that. But other than that, oftentimes we think we're panning slow enough. When we get back and look at the footage and it's kind of stuttery, it's because we're not panning slow enough. For 24 frames per second anyway, you can try upping your frame rate to 60. That'll help, but just slow it down and do another test, and I promise you it'll look better. Also, let's see. Also, when you see, okay, cool. B Macadelic. By the way, guys, if you guys want to check out a cool channel, go run over to B Macadelic's channel and check it out. He's got some great, fun, relevant content. I'll give him a shout out there. I enjoy watching his videos. Yes, the P4P has a tap focus. I don't think there's an option to autofocus that I know of. Okay, Juan Carlos Cotto, hi from the Caribbean. Hey, Juan. So shooters, let's see. Andres says, debating in buying my Phantom 4 Pro or Pro Plus. Any advantages with or without the screen besides the price? All I can say is what I decided. I decided to go with just the Phantom 4 Pro because I like the bigger screen of my iPad, which is a little larger. But I also love the fact that my iPad is a cellular iPad, so I don't have to use a phone for a mobile hotspot and this and that, because I know that you have to use, for the Phantom 4 Pro Plus, you still need to use a mobile device as a hotspot for that device to load, maps and things like that. So I preferred that because I've already got an iPad too, and that saved me a little bit of money going that route. So that's just me though. Let's see. The screen is supposed to be a lot brighter, though. I mean, and when I say a lot brighter. You're supposed to not even need a sun shield in direct sun to see that screen. So that's way cool. Let's see. All right, Ivan Smith says, so just one question. Have you ever had mild wobble when filming and shot flowing sideways? When forward, all is good. Maybe the Phantom 3 Pro camera is not aerodynamic from the side and the front. No, I've not had that problem, but yeah, the wind, there's so many factors that could make something have that kind of effect. I've seen that effect. I know what you're talking about. And, so there's a lot to be said about the wind and the atmospheric conditions too, the humidity outside. The humidity has a play and effect on the gimbal motors. On the Phantom 3 it did, on really humid days, it seemed real sloppy, real kind of sloppy and not tight. But on days with low humidity, that gimbal seemed to be much more solid. So yeah, it's more than just one factor, but I have seen that. Let's see. Inertia Studios. I bought some rotor bumpers from China for real cheap. Will they affect my flights in any way, or should I buy from DJI? I stay away. This is, again, just me personally. I stay away from any kind of prop protectors or rotor guards or bumpers or anything like that, simply because it adds weight to the copter, which I just think is unnecessary, and it really kills the downdraft, of the video, the actual. What am I trying to say? The actual. I think I've lost you guys. Hold on. What happened? I think I've lost you guys. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Okay. I think we're back. Am I still here, guys? That was crazy. I think I lost internet for a moment. I think we're back. Okay. Okay, cool. We're good. All right. All right, let's see. Where was I? Sorry about that. I thought I lost everybody. Oh, okay. we're back. Okay, we're back on. Let's see. I haven't seen the LED light coupon. Got me in Florida. Okay. Laptop. Is it possible to disable the old when you use the HDMI on the Phantom 4P Plus? I'm not sure about that one. Let's see, guys. We are at, what is it, 45 minutes and some change. I think we're getting pretty close here. If you guys have any other questions or comments, I'm trying to get some more stuff uploaded pretty soon. Just to give you guys a heads up on a personal note, I've been going through a lot of changes here at home, and that, which includes looking for a new house and selling this house, and I think I've done that. So I'm in the process of the nightmare of moving and banks and mortgages and fun stuff like that. So bear with me. It's been kind of tough for me to get down and really put some thought into the videos, but I plan on when I get moved and everything next month, really hit it hard. So anyway, let's see. Toro says one of your earlier videos regarding the P4P and its twitch every 30 seconds, you expressed some disappointment in DJI. DJI fixed the issue and still being debated. No, DJI has not fixed the issue. I noticed it when I was filming the ND filter video, and DJI never contacted me. I'm kind of bummed. I wish they had. But that flicker, that IBP pulse every 1 second, every 30 frames, is still present, and we'll just have to kind of muddle through it. Tom Miller, what's your take on gimbal guards while flying? I think you're talking about the guards that are underneath on the landing gears. I think those are great, because a lot of the times that's where you're going to come down on something. But I've never used them, so I don't know how they affect flight or anything like that. But hey, why not? I'd give them a try. Todd Murphy, I am in Louisville, Kentucky. Todd. Spellerock says, thanks, Fred. Been color grading a lot more since watching your videos. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate your understanding, Ray. And thanks for the, thanks, Reza, for the good luck. Let's see. You're welcome for the shout out. Are you kidding? That was great. I'll talk to you later, man. Yeah, polarizing filters. Ray says polarizing filters are only good for photography or flying above water and don't work in direct line of the sun. That is true. They don't. They work only 90 degrees from the sun. Tahiti fly shoot with the Phantom 4 Pro. Is it possible to display OSD on the HDMI output with a P4P Plus? Is not possible in this. I don't know that question. Maybe somebody else can jump in there. I'm not sure about that. Can't help you on that one. Sorry. Real quick here, guys, for the ones that are still with me, it looks like there's about 45 folks there. Before we wrap up, just do me a favor and give me one lines on videos that you would like to see. Like a color grading tutorial, stuff about ramping video and slow-mo, things like that. Give me some ideas, because I'm trying to make a list now and prepare for those videos, because a lot of my videos take anywhere from 6 hours to 16, 18 hours when I upload a video for you guys, depending on how much I have to shoot and research and test and all that stuff. You're welcome, Greg. I appreciate your support. Thanks, Steven. I really appreciate your support too. Okay. You're welcome. Tahiti fly shoot, Mike. Can the P4P be set up with auto ISO? Yep. Yes, it can. Premiere. Okay, so Ray says Premiere Pro full editing tutorials for complete beginners. Okay. Fred, ramping and shooting processing slow-mo would be great. Awesome. I can do that, Reza. I think I'm going to do some more stuff with a video upcoming that just explains cinematic editing, the whole picture, sound, color, editing techniques, what to do, what not to do. Sometimes knowing what not to do is more important than what to do. So, okay, agrees with Ray. Would love to see you out on a shoot. Yeah, I love going out on shoots. It's fun. Okay. Take us through a video shoot you would do for a client. Give us an idea of shooting and your process for newbies. Okay. Great stream, Frederick. Thank you. Thank you, Tom Heller. Focus on how do you find the perfect location for a drone shoot? How to choose what types of shots to best use, complement the storyline. Easy to be overwhelmed with different shots. You got that right. Yeah, that would be a great video. I've never worked with Vegas Pro, yeah, but I hear that it's great. Toro, best of luck in the move. Thank you for all your professional advice. We respect you. Oh, here you are. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Good luck with the move. Can you look into manual focus with a P4P? It seems to be reverse. So you can give your take on infinite focus versus autofocus. I kind of addressed that a minute ago, but it's all about infinite focus. I mean, I just do the tap like everybody else. I'm kind of still don't understand why we have a tap focus, on the Phantom 4 Pro, but we do instead of infinite focus. So mine's pretty straightforward. You're welcome for the great advice. Pedro says, hello from Puerto Rico. Hello, Pedro. I was told that the encoding format H.265 works well in Premiere if you made the MP4 format instead of... I don't know. If you change the extension to the MP4 instead of MOV, I'll try it. Worth a shot. Oh, thanks, John, about the wedding video. RMS video, good luck with your move. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to give a big heartfelt thanks to you guys. I really appreciate you stopping in and chatting with me. I hope I've answered your questions, and continue to send comments. I'll let this video go ahead and post for others to watch if they didn't catch it. But like I said, don't hesitate to post comments underneath and give me ideas, because you guys are what this is all about. This is why I do this. That's why I started doing it. And without you guys, I'd be nothing. I love you guys to death, and you keep me going and keep me inspired, and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys very soon. And thanks so much for tuning in. See you later.